I have come from the future. I know, it's a little bit shocking. How in the world? Well, I was blinking around in the middle of the map too much, and I happened to blink while eager edging, and I went so fast I traveled forward in time, but thankfully I was able to do it backwards, and now I'm back in present time. I come bringing gifts from the future. Well, not really our future. See, this other future actually the world just started 30 days earlier, so it's just 30 days in advance, so like some things are a little bit different, so this isn't going to be completely accurate to everything, but I do have 3 builds from the future that you are going to be able to run come with the Arc 3.0 changes. Let's just jump straight into it here with the Hunter. I found a few things that are quite interesting. First of all, glaives in the future are actually a really big contender in the meta. In fact, there's some people on Twitter right now talking about how glaives are just a little bit scary, but their hit registration is still kind of crap. Oh, another thing, Hunters, I'm sorry to say, but your throwing knife got nerfed. Yeah, sorry about that. It's just like tracking. It's nothing really serious, but yeah. Oh, also in Arc 3.0, all melees are the uppercut melee, and our previous like punch melee that we had is still kind of there, but it's more represented in the fragments rather than like an own separate melee. Also, our resist dodge on bottom tree is just completely gone. I'm sorry to say. We did get a new super though, and I really don't want to spoil it, but we did get a new super, and the spin to win the block with the middle tree is actually just baked into the super by default now. So, you know, that's pretty cool. But I'll talk more about the other stuff that's coming later. This particular build is quite fun. This is running the Edge of Concurrence. This is the exotic glaive that you can get for hunters. And I know that's not the best. It doesn't seem like it's the best, but the increased rate of fire on this thing makes it a powerful choice in the PvP world. And on top of that, if you're smart about your shields, you can get a one-shot tracking shot from this glaive, and it's a guaranteed kill, even on a super. It's quite fun. The pulse rifles are still very meta in the future. Hand cannons are still fine, but like pulse rifles are a really big deal. Like people are taking to the streets talking about these things. Snipers have also become a lot more meta. Fusions are still kind of in the same spot, but snipers, we've like a significant bump in sniper usage. It's actually kind of crazy. I wasn't a big fan of it. Oh, I should mention it here. There is a new exotic coming out. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but it does play with Solar 3.0 stuff, and it may or may not be a precision-based weapon. I'm just, you know, letting you know about that. But anyway, run this glaive with the pulse rifle. I'm running this with the Liar's Handshake so that when somebody does punch me while I'm blocking, it does actually proc my Liar's Handshake cross counter, so I can immediately follow them up with a kill. But I have been messing around with this with the Gemini Gestures, which does have synergy with Arc 3.0. It works pretty decently as well. You might want to give that a go. Next up, Warlocks. You guys are so freaking hated in the next meta, and the reason is that Arc Souls are absolutely everywhere. Arc Souls have become like this sort of pain in everybody's side, and now you can deal with them. They're not completely unstoppable, but there's so much of them everywhere that everyone has just so tired of dealing with Arc Souls, and because of that, Risk Runner is partially meta. It's like sort of like this weird corner meta thing, but it's slowly rising to the top. I'm not joking about that. Risk Runner became the meta in the future. It's really weird to see, but you know what? Using it a little bit myself, it's pretty good. I can see why. The stats on the Risk Runner are really good for the type of archetype that it has. It's increased range if you've got the Catalyst, good stability, good handling, all around really solid. And if you get hit with arc damage of any shape or form, you are a monster and are so hard to deal with. On top of that, because you're resisting arc damage and a lot of weapons are now, you know, dealing arc damage because people are trying to synergize with Arc 3.0, you're pretty good about just being able to handle almost every single encounter, at least most of the encounters. You might be surprised how often the Risk Runner actually procs in this new meta. I guess I should talk a little bit more about what actually happened in the future. Vesper Radius had a bug. It got nerfed. Not a lot of people knew about it, but you know, it happened. I did mention the Rift meta. They did actually change how the Arc Souls worked a little bit with the Rifts. So, you know, things that actually play into the Rifts are much better. Things like Boost of the Assembler, Vesper Radius, already mentioned. Sanguine Alchemy still kind of sucks, but it's slightly better than it was previously. Oh, and also Double Primary has kind of had a weird resurgence. Astrocross even made a video about it, talking about how double primary is actually not that bad right now. Oh, I should also mention that Fighting Lion was nerfed. It wasn't a very serious nerf, but there was enough community outlash about it that it eventually got toned down. Ball Lightning is our default melee now. We don't have our normal melees, but there's a lot more stuff baked into it now, a lot more debuffs that are baked into it, so it's nice. It still holds its own as a solid melee. Oh, by the way, the 180s, 150s, and 450s, the buffs that came to all those, nothing really significant came. There was like a really cool 450 that some people played with for a little while, but it didn't really go anywhere with it. 180 hand cannons, again, there was a 180 hand cannon that kind of had a cool perk with it, but that was about it. But 150 scout rifles, they're the thing right now. There are some serious contenders in 150 scout rifle metas right now. Oh, Warlocks, I'm sorry to say, but Ionic Blink is completely gone. It's 100% gone, but Landfall is now baked into our super by default, so, you know, that's pretty nice. But anyway, if you're trying to run this particular build for yourself, you're going to run this with the Risk Runner, like mentioned, a high impact pulse rifle. I'm running Messenger, but really any longer range pulse rifle will be fine. And you're running this with the Stag with the Arc Souls Rift. Because of the increased duration that the bottom tree fragment gives, you can actually stay in this rift for a very long period of time. And obviously you're getting damage resistance on top of dealing slightly increased damage from your Arc Souls, all of its arc. It all synergizes well with the rest of the fragments in your kit. It's very solid. It's able to dig in and hold its ground for far longer than anybody would like you to. Just be careful of snipers because you still will have problems with those. But yeah, just really Risk Runner, the Stag helmet on Arc Souls with the Arc Souls aspect, and you are good to go. Titans, you're up. And in the future, you guys are meta. Like the Warlocks are annoying and they're difficult to deal with. They're better in like the lower, like less teams, you know, like 3v3s. But Titans in 6v6s, you guys are monsters. Things like Synthoceps are just so dominant right now. Knockout Punch kind of got just given to everybody in a way. So our ability to actually just punch somebody from across space and time, get our health back, is really available right now. Not to mention there's a lot of stuff actually playing into our melees with this new Arc 3.0 stuff. So this particular build takes big advantage of it. It's definitely not the most meta, but it is still very, very good. We are running this with a BXR with blunt execution rounds. Now, if you don't know what this is, the BXR you can obtain from Dares of Eternity. Blunt execution has never really risen to the top outside of a couple memes, but it's not bad for what we're doing here because we're able to get a slight bit of bonus damage from our melees and our fragments. We can actually get this thing to deal 61 to the head with the blunt execution round punch. We're running this with a shotgun. I am running this with 1-2 punch, but I'm really having a hard time finding ways to proc it. It seems to be working, but I can't get anything like on the numbers that seems to be procking with this thing. But the combination between these two makes it very easy to maintain myself. I'm also running this with Synthoceps for even longer melee range. Melees in this meta are just so freaking good. I'm just, you guys, you might not believe me right now, but just give it a few days and melees will set in as a sort of meta within the, especially 6v6. It is shocking how good melees are. If you don't want to run this with Synthos, you could consider running this with the Insurmountable Skull Fort to keep your melee up more often, but I find myself not actually killing a target right away with my punch all the time, so Synthos are more my way to go. If you want to try taking this a little bit more in the tanky route, you could try taking the Risk Runner from the previous build and running it in this one. It works pretty well, but that's all I have to give for you. I don't want to completely spoil everything because, you know, there is a bit of joy and surprise in finding new stuff for yourself, but, you know, I give it a little bit of a sneak peek of what's gonna come. I figured you guys might enjoy something like that. If you did enjoy, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. You know, the basic YouTube crap. But in the meantime, bless your faces and deuces.